Welcome to our podcast, This Life, the Chronicles of Autism Moms. I'm Alison and I'm joined each week by amazing women who happen to have children on the spectrum. We talk about navigating the ups and downs of parenting kids with autism and how that affected us and our lives as women, professionals and mothers. Strap in, grab some tissues. Sometimes you'll cry from empathy and others from laughter. Join us on our journey of this life. Hi there, welcome to today's episode, Mates and Playdates. I'm Alison and I'm here today with Huma and Karina. Hello, how are you?
Hello.
It's nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. So today we're going to be talking about our children and playdates. So experiences of playdates, our anxiety, because I know as soon as somebody says playdate to me with Noah, then if it's not within my usual crowd of friends, then my anxiety levels are already like, I start sweating a little bit. That's even before we've got to arranging an actual date for the playdate. So tell me what your thoughts are on playdates outside of your regular circle of friends that you would have, you know, for Haider or for the boys. You know, what are your good, you know, your goods and your lows, you know, your highs and your lows of playdate experiences? Have you got any funny playdates to share where it's gone horribly wrong?
I was desperate to, because I felt that you know, friends are important, and I saw that in my husband's household, going back to my husband again, that they were, Pakistani community was very like, oh, you know, my son is really nice, no friends come to visit him at home. And I was like, is that nice? Is that so? I didn't want that kind of a life for my friends, because my kids, that and so, but the thing is that I felt that it was always a challenge. All the play dates, he would, the kids when they were younger, Haider's friends, they of course it was always a managed play date. I would have things ready for them, what kind of games they can play, what will happen when he doesn't win, will he be able to share, how will he react, how will the parent react. So it's like constant, you know, it's going on in your mind.
You're trying to play out how
Yes.
this is going to work, and you're trying to almost control it to a point where it's impossible to control.
Yes.
Were you worried about how he would be feeling, or would you be worried about how you would be perceived as a parent?
No, I wasn't. No, at that point, it wasn't that what they would think of me as a parent. I think it was more like, oh, I have to manage this so that he can have the best possible time. Even his feelings were not into consideration. I was like, oh, either you have to do this because this is going to be fun for you. Mm-hmm. This is how you're going to have fun, and this is you have to play like this, and but then, you know, because he's Haider, things would be unpredictable, and he will say he knows which buttons to push. Mm-hmm. He'll make sure the child goes home leaving, or the mother goes home, like the child goes home crying, and the mother is like, will this happen next time also? I said, no, I'm sorry, I wish I can give you guarantees, because she'll be like, oh, my son's birthday is coming up, will he react like this at the birthday? I'm like, I you know, and all my dreams of having a social life for my child are being shattered in front of me. I'm like, oh, I have to start from scratch again.
Right. So do you think Haider reacted in that way to get a reaction, or do you think that was just part of the play date for him? Do you think that was the kind of fun part for him? You know, could you see how that would lead up to it becoming?
It was just him being him. I mean, like, other kids would be more considerate, but then he's like, when things are not going according to plan and he doesn't like it, he'll be like, that's it, get out of my house, I don't need you in my house, I don't need you in my life. And I was like, oh my god, there goes another
opportunity.
Yeah. And I hold on to friends, like to my son's friends, like, oh, are you his friend? Can I have your mom's number?
Can you move in?
Yes. So I'm like holding on to them desperately, that and he's like left and right, chop, and like cutting down the forest, and I'm like, and
You're replanting the trees.
and he's trampling over them, and he's making sure that.
And at the end of that, after that happens and after the kind of dust settles, because you said as well that he wants friends.
Yeah.
So it's this constant cycle of chopping down the trees and then a regret that he doesn't have the friends that he wants. Yeah. It's very, you can see it you can see it playing out.
I can see that because I see that his behavior as a class clown, because then he does things to get a laugh out of people. So he wants that. He wants the friendship. He'll make people laugh even when it's not the right time and not the appropriate joke. But he just cannot seem to maintain
it's just
that.
The maintenance.
Because I went to an iftar once long time ago, and the school iftar, and there was a group of his friends from the class, and they had all come together, and I was like, wow, these kids are young, and that means that they had phones, they texted, they organized that, hey, let's go to the school iftar together. They were sitting together, and Heather was not part of them. And he went on to the table, and he's like, hey guys, and they were like, there was not much response. And I was heartbroken to see that he is not part of the group. He's not one of the buddies. And so
and he so desperately wants that, but it's just how to get to that point. What about your experiences, Karina? Because I think our kids are all very, very different, appreciating the fact that they all would like friends and they all like those social interactions, but it's what their expectation is in those play date environments, what they want out of that kind of play date. And how is that for you? Obviously, because you've got the twins, then generally they go most places together. Yeah.
Always. I think that Raphael doesn't really he doesn't feel the need to be with someone, to be with a friend. He doesn't.
But he likes it.
He likes it.
But he doesn't have that.
No.
The banter and the same need for interaction.
No.
Yeah.
Now, because they play video games and they are together, but at the same time they are not, because they're playing their own games, which is good. But before, when they're playing with toys and things, he was always, like, I could read his mind, he was not into it. He was there because I wanted him to be there.
And that's an interesting thing. So for us, going back to that, do we organize these play dates because our kids want the play dates, or do we do it because obviously we're trying to fulfill our own needs and desires to have play dates for our kids because we know that that's kind of what you do, but also we hope to encourage social skills through those. So maybe, perhaps from my perspective, when Noah was younger, I was organizing play dates because I was trying to create social situations for him to develop, not for him necessarily to have fun and enjoy it. So, I think that there was maybe a hidden agenda behind what we were trying to do.
Today, he's 11 years old and it's the same thing.
Right.
It's for his social skills.
Yeah.
This is what I'm after.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all about the social skills. And then just turning it round on our other children, because I know in the last one of the other episodes I was talking about my neurotypical daughter's feelings towards play dates and having that harmonious situation in the house where everybody is there, because generally everybody is, and then they're inviting friends over and so on and so forth. So for anybody that is in your home environment and you're inviting another friend to play with, whoever that might be, how do we make that a successful, positive experience for the children, and also not a stressful experience for the adults? Because you're already talking about your anxiety. I panic. I go into a kind of a panic mode, and I'm trying to think, even when there are even play dates for us as adults, so even if we've got people coming to the house that I don't necessarily know that well, that haven't been before, I'm always fine after one or two visits from friends or family that have come. But, it's easier almost when you're in somebody else's environment, but when you're actually coming into your home environment, I always feel that I have to prepare. What about you guys? Do you prepare for people to come, just to try and stage it a little bit so that, everyone's kind of settled?
Yes.
And I always feel that if I'm planned and organized, not with the food and not with the, this, but with my kids, especially Noah, that I feel calmer. I don't know whether or not I do the right thing or whether or not I just get myself into a tiz about it and it's not necessary. I think my husband's like, it's fine. And I'm like,
It's not. Yeah. I feel very lucky that we have a very good, close group of friends. And then I just feel so comfortable around my friends.
Please include me, because I want this really close group of friends who accept kids like that. So,
but it's also adults as well. It's also, when you have anybody new into the house that's going to come and spend some time with you as a family, if it's a new family that you've invited over for lunch, or, there's a birthday party happening, how do you, because in my experience, my son doesn't have any anxiety at all about other people coming into our house. It's purely me. Same. It's me. It's wanting to protect. And I think it's a protection. I want to protect our family. I want to protect him from judgment. And I want to protect my girls from the judgment or any anything that might come out of that.
When Heather was young, I remember he was invited to a birthday, and at that time he was very uncomfortable with, I did not know that, of new surroundings. He was more at ease in his own surrounding. So I remember the door to the apartment opening, of the host opened the door, and it was full of people, and Heather started screaming at the top of his voice, and he was just screaming that he didn't want to go into the apartment. And I'm like, now when I look back, I was like, I wanted him to go in. I wanted him to go to the birthday. I wanted to go to the birthday. And there were people, they had stopped everything and they were looking at us. And I was like, then I had to pick him up. I took him outside. I walked him till he screamed and cried and fell asleep. And then I went inside the birthday party. I put him on the bed. I enjoyed the birthday. And then when he woke up and I went home, I was like, then when I was thinking about it, I was like, what was that? Who was trying to fulfill the need? It was like, it was the need that, my son has to go to a birthday because that's what kids do. And I remember it's painful. I was thinking, I don't know what.
I think you probably feel embarrassed as well.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah, it's really embarrassing. And I don't use that word lightly, because that's not something that, it's not an embarrassment of your child. It's an embarrassment of people looking at you, and they shouldn't be looking at you in that way.
Yeah.
Bad for, shame on them, not on you. Yeah. But it's not comfortable.
I seek out, the formula that has worked for me is either kids who are really young, who can look up to either like an older boy with reverence that, we want to play with this older boy, or people who are older, like older ladies or gentlemen who understand the situation. Right. So I would have a play date with my neighbor who's in her 60s, and they would play some board games. Right. And she was like, I was really happy, and I was desperate
because he's
to
getting that social interaction, but on a level with somebody that's not gonna judge or give you anxiety.
Yes. So I would be like, I whether she wanted or not, I would be calling, Jackie, are you available today? Yeah. And then for kids who were younger, who he was like a role model for them, they didn't mind the abuse. Or the verbal or physical abuse, who would be like, we'll play with you. You're an older boy. I was like, okay, just don't tell your mommy. Just play with my son, please. So I just anything. I was just desperate for anything.
The lengths that you go to orchestrate these. And do you think he benefits from those interactions? For all of the effort that you go to, for all of those bad experiences that you've had. Obviously, now that he's older, you found, you say older older people are like better, and you find more kind of grown-up activities for him to do, which he can socially interact with, but also the younger kids as well. Do you think he enjoys that?
Oh yes, he definitely enjoyed the activities with the older crowd, and sometimes with the younger also. I know there's a little boy who comes to pick up his brother every day from school, and he brings these little toy Hot Wheels, and my son is obsessed with toy Hot Wheels. So every pickup time, this little tiny little boy and my son, who's older than me, and he taller than me, they're sitting together and playing with cars, so that the cars they bond them together.
It's nice. It's like an activity that they both enjoy.
Yeah, and but I think my main thing is still what I'm seeking, what I'm hoping is to him to be accepted by his peers.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Because we all want to be accepted by our peers.
Of course. No, absolutely. Karina, what are your kind of thoughts on when you've had people or family to stay and, you know, they're not particularly used to being around your children? You know, how do you find it best to manage your own anxiety in those kind of situations? If you're in a new environment, you know, if you've got a party to go to, or you've invited people over, if you've got people staying with you, guests, you know, in those situations whereby you might find unpredictability, and you kind of want to manage that and can kind of control it. How do you manage your anxiety in at those times?
I think just by preparing the visuals for Raphael, it's something that it calms myself too. Yeah. Because, you know, like...
These are for us.
Just to prepare and laminate and everything. It's a therapy.
I gave you the visual. You've got to do it now.
So just before, I have to show him, you know, like before, like 5 minutes before, what we're going to do, what we're not going to do. So it helps him a lot.
And it helps you.
Me too.
What does that do for you?
I think, first of all, I stopped inviting people over years ago, because it's something like, not my close friends, you know, but people like years ago, like, because I have to, he has to be part of social groups, he has to be part, and, you know, and then Ricardo, my neurotypical son, came to me and said, Mom, why are you doing this? You know, we don't need it. We have our lovely friends. They love us so much. You know, we're so happy. We don't need more people just because you're trying to help Raphael. We don't need it. So
it's such a profound thing from a young child.
Yes, you know, like he's happy the way he is. I'm happy if I need, you know, but I love my friends. I love the people who come to my house. I don't need to have extra friends. And these people, they don't understand Raphael the way he is. So why we need to invite them? And then, you know, and he is right. And then I stopped doing that, and I felt so much better about my friends.
Okay,
you know,
great.
like, well, we have our friends, we love them, and we need them. And that's all. I think that was the best thing I did.
So that's how you manage your anxiety, by just keeping your circle tight and your true friends that you feel comfortable with. That's great advice.
And the cards, can you make those? I want to use them on my husband.
I have a collection.
Because I can't get through to him, so I want to use the cards.
Visuals, they help with everyone and everything.
Yeah.
So, what are your top tips, ladies? Let's kind of circle back, and, you know, when you are in those situations with any, you know, if you're entertaining, or if you've got any parties or anything happening like that, when you people are being introduced to your households and your families, what are your top tips for managing your own anxiety and also, you know, making things kind of run smoothly? What would you, to the listeners that we've got, how would you best kind of manage that situation to keep it as positive and keep it as, you know, happy? Because these events should be nice. They shouldn't be stressful. You know, we shouldn't invite people and then be worried and stressed. Yeah, you can be worried and stressed if your cake is going to rise or your lasagna doesn't taste good. But, you know, how everyone is going to interact and how you're going to be perceived. And, you know, I keep going back to the kind of judgment and everything else, because there's a lot of pressure on us as parents. There's a lot of pressure on us for so many different reasons. So how can we kind of, you know, calm ourselves and, you know, reduce our anxiety? Because I think once we've got less anxiety, then everything kind of rolls a bit easier and a bit better anyway, because we tend to be calmer. So What would you say are the top recommendations to making these things enjoyable and,
Well,
free flowing?
When I'm trying to think back, now it's sort of easier for me to go out socially. He's a bit more adventurous and more open to new places and new homes. But looking back, the anxiety was through the roof when someone would invite me to a place, and I would be constantly on guard and on edge, and I had to control the environment, I had to control the setting, I had to control the people. Right. So I think about it that I think my tip would be that it's okay, you choose what is feasible for you, what setting works for you. If someone is inviting for a play date, if a certain area doesn't work, suggest another place where you feel your child will be more comfortable, if that works. That will help ease the anxiety. I know, for example, I know the play date would be much better in a park, so I would choose that environment. Or maybe it would be much better inside a home, so I would choose that. Someone invited me to a restaurant and I was very anxious that a restaurant doesn't work, can we go somewhere else, so that kind of helps. Right. Because when the host came and she came gave to my son a kiss on the cheek, and I was like, oh my god, the hells are going to open. And he said, don't kiss me because you're ugly. She said, what? She said, don't kiss me because you're ugly. Just in case she didn't hear her the first time, I said, and she looked at me, I said, no, just what do you do? and she's paying for my food, and I'm like, oh. So I just we
have to laugh at that.
It is. It is funny, and it's
funny and it's tragic at the same time. It's tragic. It is. But I mean, what do you do? And hopefully, I mean, did you explain? Did you say anything? No, or did it just kind of brushed over the topic and then moved on?
No, I said there's a bee, and I took my son away. I said there's a bee. That's my. And I said, and he said, where? And then we just went away. And then we just went home because I gave no explanation because I was too embarrassed to say anything. So just you can pick and choose what works for you, hopefully.
I would say the same thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to be part of everything, participate in everything. And there are places that we don't take him because we know it's going to be stressful for him and for us. So what's the point? You know, we choose to go. Either I go or my husband goes. Yeah. If it's something that we must attend, and it's for his own well-being and the whole family's well-being.
Yeah.
I'd echo that as well, actually, that I think since we've become older and wiser, then it's okay to say no to some invitations, and you don't need to give an explanation. Sometimes it's just okay to say thank you for the invitation, but no. Other times it's okay to take some of the family or just go yourself. There's been a few situations where I've taken one of my children because it might be more relevant to them, or I've taken two. I don't often just leave Noah at home because I think sometimes you can get into a habit of that becoming a lot easier, because sometimes if I ask him if he wants to come, he'll be like, no thanks. He'll want to stay at home. And it's like my other kids, sometimes they'll be like, oh, can we just stay at home and watch TV? No. So if I know that it's something that he will enjoy, then even if he says no, he doesn't want to go, then I will push it a bit. Yes. But if it's outside of the house, I always make sure, and this might sound so obvious, I always make sure that he's fed properly before he goes. I always make sure that I take snacks with me. I always make sure that I have an extra activity or a fidget toy or something like that for him. Yeah. I know I've always got my phone to fall back on, and I know some people might be like, oh, that's so terrible. Yeah. I don't think so. Sometimes it's just a lifeline. If you get stuck in a situation that they don't want to be in, and you want to try and calm them, then it's all of these things are lifelines for us sometimes, especially when you've got other children, you've got a family, something that you need to attend that you can't leave. My top tip for being at home and having people over to the house, that you're right, you don't need to feel the need to invite, but sometimes those situations occur even with family when you'd like to have a nice Sunday lunch, or you'd like to have people over, or a birthday party. So for me and for Noah, I always make sure that he's fed again, even if it's a lunch at 2:00, then if he's going to be hungry at 1:00, I feed him. And then, he comes and sits and then he can eat what he likes. But I know that he's, it's not going to be a situation that he's frustrated about before everybody's got here and becomes overwhelmed, because I know that one of his needs has been met. I might set up some toys for him to play with, like some jigsaw puzzles, or I might get him, he loves slime, so I might go and buy him some slime so that he's got something to do, so that he can choose whether or not he wants to be with the other children, or he's got other activities, which means that he's not bored. And for me, that's really important, that he's not just kind of meandering around and the other kids are playing and I'm sat with a group of adults, because that makes my heart sink. It makes me feel really bad if he's not, and he might not want to, he can choose whether or not he wants to be with those other kids, but generally he doesn't really, he'll dip in and dip out. But it's that downtime. I don't want him to just be sat playing an iPad or in the corner on his own. So I want him to be, it's more for my needs than for his, to try and kind of make sure that he's got some activities that he likes to do, because sadly it makes me feel better about the situation, right? So I think it's just all in the planning, really. And then, if we've got other kids come into our house for a play date that isn't his play date, then it's all about those introductions. It's all about making sure that if they're new to our family and they're just being introduced to us, that one of my girls' friends, then my girls and I have talked about the play date and what they want to do, how much of not how much of Noah do they want to see, but what is acceptable for them, how are they comfortable, because I want to make them as comfortable as possible, and whoever is in the house. And I, slowly, we get to a point where, if they come 3 or 4 times, there's no need to have these kind of like, slow introductions, but we have to do it with what they feel comfortable with, and not of any detriment to Noah at all, but just to make sure that relationship starts in the right way, they get introduced in the right way, and then they become, they love him and like him like we do, so it's slowly. So those are our top tips and recommendations.
I've seen I just wanted to, when we were talking, I just thought of something. What really helps, or what I was doing wrong, was that I wanted him to have lots of friends, but I've seen it doesn't work that way. So I'm focusing on like one-on-one. Mm-hmm. And when the one-on-one bond develops, then it's nicer, it's more rich. Yeah. So it doesn't have to have a ton of friends, just a few who can understand him,
and that he trusts and he understands, and they understand him, and I think they create a bond between them. That's lovely. That's great advice.
And if I take him somewhere, then I just prepare him before that. Oh, you don't talk about their physical appearance, don't talk about the house. Like, he'll go in and say, wow, you have a small house. I said, no, we don't, so
it's that checklist. So they have to check themselves in. What to say, what not to say.
Okay, we're going in, don't talk about the religion, don't talk about the physical appearance, don't talk about, he'll be like, oh, what's wrong with your teeth? No, don't talk about their teeth, so I have to check things. And
does he normally try to kind of remember your checklist?
No.
The visuals don't work. You try the visuals.
I think visuals. We need visuals for everyone, because it just goes, because it'll be something new. I'm like, oh, I didn't think of this one. Why didn't
it wasn't on the list, Mom?
Why did I not think about this one? So that's the thing. But it keeps me on my toes.
Thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode of This Life, the Chronicles of Autism Moms. We'll look forward to seeing you again next week for a new episode.